Hello everyone, I'm back in Renoise today, and this is a bit of an impromptu session. I was actually working on this tune yesterday, the 165 jungle tune, and it's turned out pretty good. I had a good 3 or 4 hours on it, and I'm hoping for another good session today. So I'm just going to turn the cameras on and really see what happens. But just to explain a little bit what's happening with this song, I did a big load of sampling actually, which I put up for all my patrons, but I did a sampling session and got like 121 items of different breaks and record chops and acapellas and loads of really juicy stuff in here. So I had a really good sampling session to sort of inspire this project, and also just to carry on. I was teaching in the my last video about sample managing and the value of using playlists, and I thought I should really put my the things I teach into practice myself and go and do another big playlist to get inspired for the next project. So that's exactly what I did, and I actually started this one in Maschine, which I haven't been using very much recently, and it really came from this ARP sample here. So I've just got an ARP. This is an ARP. If I go to this thing, I've just pitched it around, I think, to make it actually play nicely. I've pitched it up 6 semitones just by ear to make it roll around at the project BPM, and then I've got some slow moving filter movement on it, and a bit of grain delay and some reverb, and actually more delay. So if I show you maybe the original ARP. So it's nice, but all these extra layers give it that kind of epic 90s jungle. It widens the stereo field and gives it more rhythm and kind of life to it. So we have a cool ARP sample, but I didn't really know where to go with this in Maschine. And I also made some breaks in here. I think what I did is I took 3 different breaks and chop them up and basically put them all together. So this is 3 different break patterns. If I play them one by one, so they're playing pretty similar patterns, and I'm just sort of combining these breaks here. Mostly playing with the tunings of the different breaks I'm sure I was doing. Yeah, this one's been pitched up 8 semitones, this break. This one's been pitched up 10 semitones. So I've really been matching all the breaks together, also controlling the decay of the breaks, that trick I show. So when I'm doing my break layering, obviously finding the right breaks is really important, but the other things I do pretty much every time is controlling the decay of the breaks, so how snappy they are, how long you let them ring out, and then also the tuning. And those things you can actually, just with those 3 factors, you can do a lot with your break layering. Anyway, so I had a nice break and a nice ARP, and I just didn't really know where this project was going in Maschine. I think because I haven't used it for a long time, I found it really hard to visualize or even just to move past this very basic loop stage. So rather than just abandon this idea, which is something I would have done in the past, I thought, why not I just take those 2 elements and bring them into Renoise. So I recorded them out, and the way I do this is which you've all probably seen me do now, is I have Twisted Wave, which is like an audio editor, and I route my mixer, the output of my mixer, into Twisted Wave. So anything I record, any sound I'm hearing, I can just record, and so I can solo something like the drums in Maschine and play it and just record it in. So I recorded the pattern into Twisted Wave, and then essentially exported all that stuff, chopped it up to be a perfect 2-bar loop, and exported that along with that ARP sample and brought all that stuff into Renoise. So this is where things got a little bit more interesting, and now I'm in Renoise, I'm a lot more comfortable in here, and I know people like me making tunes in Logic, but I think some of my best stuff comes out of Renoise, and I definitely find creatively I find it a bit easier to work in here. And so I re-chopped up this main break here, all the transient hits, and I'm controlling decay again to make it nice and snappy, and I've essentially just made a new pattern from all those breaks combined. I've made one, I've chopped that one up and made a new pattern from it. So sounding nice and tight there. It's very quantized break, but it's actually sounding pretty good and rolling nicely. And then actually this break, I go on to layer it again with another break later on in the track. So you can hear those two breaks are working really well together, almost like they're meant to go together. And that's really the key, is a lot of it's in the tones of the breaks. When you're doing your drum layering, that's kind of the most important thing. And then obviously the programming and the tuning and all these other things, the processing you do to breaks can help them fit together. But I can see here I haven't done any processing to this backup break. And this main one, I've got a little bit of EQ on, the Resample one from the last project, so I haven't done too much to affect them. They're just two breaks that work really well together. I can actually show you a failed attempt really. Before I was trying another break that just didn't have that. Then it wasn't fitting as well with this primary break. It's kind of like the programming is good, the way they're aligning is nice, and there's nothing weird happening there. It's just the tones of the two breaks just don't sound like they complement each other that much. And so finding the right breaks to go together is probably the most important thing when you're doing your drum layer. Now, the other thing that's probably quite important to worth noting is this ARP sample is still in this project. And I built the project on top of this ARP sample when I was loading all the samples in from the beginning. But actually it's really taken a back seat in where this project has gone. And so the initial idea, everything has just moved very far away from that now. But I think you will like it. I certainly, when I listened to it last night, I thought it's gone in a very good direction. And yeah, I'm just going to throw paint at the wall now for the next couple of hours and hopefully make some good improvements to it. So maybe if I give you a little playthrough of where we are now, and then we can get rolling with the tune. Reminds me a bit of Mr. Majestic, that. Coming along really nicely there, and I think maybe in the mix a little bit of clarity I can get. Maybe the bass is a little louder, needs a bit more variation, and I also think it's lacking like maybe a theme a little bit, or a main melody or something in these passages to tie them all together a little bit more. So I've got a choir with those strings. And then that's layered with this kind of epic brass lead, and all of these were actually using Analog Lab alongside a lot of samples from that sample pack I made myself. I was making these in this patch I have here, this strings one, which I've got a realm, a shimmer, and an H delay, and sometimes using this RX 950 as well. But just running through presets actually in Analog Lab and just kind of resampling sounds out of them, which may be where I want to start again. So I think I was going into my library and just looking at things I've liked potentially, and just kind of trying to find melodies and things. So this is where I got the choir from. So I was just playing chords like this. I'm in E flat minor as well, which is essentially all the black notes, and then like I think it's got an F in it as well. So I've got this cool choir. The presets in this, the plugin chain, having this shimmer and realm is definitely making it sound more epic. And I've just been resampling all those sounds I've just recorded like a passage out. Yeah, so that's nice. So what I'm going to do is, the way I've been doing this is I've just been going to this record tab. I set my output of the mixer once again to come through. Hit start, and then the only thing is you can't record it whilst hearing everything else this way, and I can set that up, but it's usually fine this way. It's just so nice. Down there, I like it shiny with no brightness. That's nice, isn't it? Da-da-da-da-da. So I've got here now in this bit this nice glissando thing and the string. Okay, and then these are actually from sample chops here. So these are from the records where they've been filtered and pitched, but they all sort of work together, and these strings. Interestingly, that kind of hits a bit hard. Makes me think maybe yeah, I could almost miss more of that out, couldn't it? Dun, dun, dun. I want to almost complement that with a note. That's nice, isn't it? Oh no. Hey. Da-da. Nice. Found something. gosh, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Easy, easy.
I tell you what needs to happen. We want to complement that string note with something more musical. So let's go have a look in this pack again. This is actually just the chord, the choir I resampled, and then I bet I can actually. This is a clever trick where play them both together to make it thicker, and then when this one needs to go, the second sample needs to go up with the other one. Because the other one's obviously pitched up, it's going at a different speed. What you can do is use the SSX command. So if I open up the effects column, S80, maybe AA. So it goes. Yeah. Okay, so one really important thing to talk about here is how to develop the track. And this is really about how to take a 16-bar loop or the initial idea and to turn it into a full song like I've just done in the last sort of 2 or 3 hours. And yes, it's about adding elements. Like I've layered my drum breaks, I've got a ride that comes in, I've got new effects that come in the second half and a few new synths and things like that. But also a really important thing to do is develop your existing ideas. And a lot of the time this is about adding a new response. So you have like the call of one instrument and the response of another one, or adding a few little notes on the end, or taking an existing instrument and then pitching it up and down an octave or something like that. So I'm doing all of these techniques all the time. And this is a good example here where I have this glissando that plays more towards the start of the track, which is fine on its own, and then as the track develops I add the first response to it. Okay, so those two are working well together, and then in the second half of the tune I add another element to that synth lead. So there's a few clicks and pops in there from the ping pong loop, but the point of this is about expanding those ideas as the track develops, and that gives you a sense of progression. Another example of me doing this is actually from this string lead I have in the intro. Brassy string sound. So I had that playing and I was like, I really liked the energy that was giving the song. It sort of sets the whole vibe. And I wanted to continue that in the drop section. So what I actually did was just take that same sound and then trigger it from way later. So I just trigger the end of it. But it becomes like a cool chord hit or a pad hit. Which, interestingly enough, really luckily for me, went perfectly with the vocal from this section here. This vocal, it actually plays the same note or roughly the same chord or whatever it is as the vocal, so I can layer those two together. So you get lucky with things like that. Anyway, I have the string sample which has been taken from the intro section, and then as the track develops I was really trying to find this response to that sample. And that kind of takes you back around. And lots of these elements you can hear they're a little bit sloppy. I think that's the one thing about Renoise is it's quite hard to be really precise. In another DAW you can see the audio and keep everything super tight with your production. But in Renoise, it is harder to control all the elements in that way. You have to be quite precise with all your envelopes and the off messages and things like that. But it lends itself to this old school style, which is inherently a little bit kind of sloppy, which maybe makes it a little bit more authentic for making old school jungle with. Nice. I like it, son.